Hey everyone, welcome to the Naked Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Sage Hobbs, author and creator of Naked Communication, and I'm so psyched you're here. This show is all about taking charge of your life in new and inspired ways to create a life you deeply love. It's about being more you in all areas of your life, more courageous, more free, more alive, more naked. I'll be sharing stories and advice from amazing people around the world who are up to incredible things on how they are successfully breaking free from fear and old patterns in order to create incredible relationships and impactful lives so that you can do the same. This is the place to be inspired to live a courageous and naked life. Let's do this. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Naked Conversations. I'm your host, Sage B. Hobbs, and I'm so glad that you're here. I know many of you are loyal listeners, and I so appreciate any time that I hear from you about the show. You can message me over on Instagram or email me at support@sagebhobbs.com. And if you're new here, thank you. You can find all the resources mentioned in today's episode over at sagebhobbs.com/podcast. I know there are so many ways to use your time, and I hope you get exactly what you need from listening today. I love sharing this show with you. For me, it's a way to support you in really reconnecting with your spark. If you've lost that spark, maybe I should call the solo show's Naked Spark, just an idea. It's really a way to amplify women's voices, showcase the incredible work that they're doing in the world, and help inspire others to be more courageous, more fully self-expressed, and really step into being the leaders in their own lives. We really need now more than ever women showing up and speaking up more fully and honestly or nakedly about what they really feel, what they have to offer, and where they're coming from. So if you want to check out other episodes, learn more about my book or how you can work with me, head on over to sagebhobbs.com and make sure to subscribe. I will not bombard your inbox, I promise. I email about once a week, never more. And then you never miss an episode, and you get some great free resources and some backstories if you enjoy my storytelling. You'll also get this guidebook, which is about how to really ask for what you want effectively with grace, and people love that. So go on over to sagebhobbs.com and subscribe. So this is a solo show where I do some storytelling, some exploring, some teaching on topics that support you and really me in living powerfully and more fully naked lives to reignite that spark. And today is about 4 things that are lighting me up right now. And I've just been pumped about these things in my life. I was thinking about it the other day while I was driving, these seemingly silly or small things that have really been impacting my sense of vitality and connection to myself. And I want to share them with you. And then I'll ask you to explore some for yourself. So again, the link's in the show notes to all the resources that I'm going to mention. And that's at sagebhobbs.com/podcast. So the first one is Duolingo. Now, I might be late to the party on this, and many of you may have already heard of the app Duolingo, and I'm super geeking out on it right now. It's a language learning app, so world languages, and I'm not a huge app person. It's not even really, I'm not somebody who thinks, oh, there's an app for that, typically. But somebody pointed me towards this Duolingo app, and I have been so into it. I'm like a little nerd, proud nerd. At night, I lie on the couch and I do my 5 or so minutes of Spanish and my 5 or so minutes of French. And it's super easy, friendly user interface. So this came about because we're taking this big trip this summer. Some of you may already know this. It's really a lifelong dream of mine to take my kids to see parts of the world. And even before I had kids, that was something I dreamed of doing. And fortunately, my partner is really excited about using our time and resources that way as well. And so we're taking a trip with our 2 kids to live in Europe for 6 weeks. And we're visiting some of my college roommates and dear friends. We've rented an apartment. And I started realizing that, oh, wouldn't it be fun and maybe a good idea to get back into some language stuff? Because it's been a really long time since I've effectively done that. So having made this decision to really go for it this summer, I thought, how can I integrate into my life something that makes me feel more connected to our trip and to my ability to communicate? Because you know how I feel about communication. It's kind of my favorite thing. And I found this Duolingo app. And it's just been so fun. So if you've been wanting to like stretch your brain a little bit, or maybe if it's some time in your past you spoke another language and you'd love to reconnect with that side of yourself again, or if this is inspiring you to consider taking that trip you've been dying to take and haven't made the time or money for, maybe this will stretch you to think about that a little bit more deeply. Duolingo. The second thing is I attended a local event of the local chapter of Moms Demand Action, which is underneath the umbrella organization of Everytown for Gun Safety. And I went in my local community here where I live in Colorado, and I was so inspired by the community organizing. So that really made me feel more alive, really more connected to my activism, which is a part of who I am and has been for a really long time, a desire to speak up, make a positive impact about things that are important to me, advocate for communities that maybe don't have as much voice as I do. So going to a meeting, it felt like a stretch. It was like, it's the evening time. I've got 2 little kids. My husband worked all day. I worked. And I was like, I need to do this. I need to actually take some action around something that's important to me that has been really weighing on my heart deeply. I wrote a letter about it if you're on my newsletter list after the Parkland shooting in Florida, just how that impacted me. And I decided to go with another friend of mine, and it really lit my fire, my heart, my sense of contribution. So whatever your thing is, when you get out in your community and you participate in some type of organizing momentum, there's real juice and power in that. And as a side bonus, I sat down next to a woman. There were well over 100 people there. And I sat down next to a woman who said, I know you somehow. And I figured maybe we knew each other from school events or the grocery store or whatever. And it turns out she had attended one of my virtual online workshops that I had done with emerging women. And it had made a huge impact for her. And she was so excited. And she works for a really interesting organization that supports young women in breaking free of perfectionism. And we started talking, and it just became this really nice and organic connection. And so it was another way to remind myself that just being out in the world and being in conversation with others, whether it's directly the community organizing that I went there for, or just being in community, really lights me up and inspires me to speak up, to show up here on this podcast with you, to use my platform for good. And it was very exciting to just make that natural, organic connection. So that was the second thing, Moms Demand. And again, I'll link to that if you're interested in what that work is about, or Everytown for Gun Safety. The third one is a new podcast that my children turned me on to, and it's called Wow in the World. I believe it's put out by NPR. I'll verify that. And again, there'll be a link. But it's a science podcast for kids, and it is so fun and playful and hilarious, and so much education layered in this very engaging way. But the real juice in it for me is not the science or the humor, though I love that. It's the shared experience with my kids, this connection with my kids. I'm really into easy integration of joy and vitality into my life. And I want to encourage you to consider how you can weave these things in as well. And we're listening to this Wow in the World podcast in the car, or they were listening to it yesterday for, a half an hour while they were swinging on the swings in the backyard and I was cooking dinner. And it was just this peaceful, beautiful shared experience that they were having together, my 4 and 8-year-old. They're laughing and they're learning. And it's just been such a pleasure to share this experience with them and to listen to them ask great questions and be curious and be inquisitive. So Wow in the World is totally wowing me. I wish my husband and I had thought of it together, since I'm married to a science teacher. We could have had so much fun producing something like this. But if you have kids or you like science, it's just a super fun, light, engaging way to participate as a family together. So I know I'm sounding kind of techie with 2 of my 4 things being an app and a podcast. So this last one is much more homegrown and a bit ridiculous even, but it's truly been making me feel more alive and joyful. And that is the spark that I want to invite you to explore in your own life. This is also me being naked and just really sharing myself with you, because I'm out here on the other end of this in your earbuds through a microphone, living my life right alongside you in its messiness and in its desire to really show up fully. So this last one is maybe silly, but I felt really excited about it lately and I want to share it with you, which is, ready? Wait for it. the morning breakfast scramble. And I mean food. So that's like where I throw into a pot leftover veggies or potatoes if I've had some, or tater tots. I had some tater tots this morning because my children love those leftover. An old piece of bacon or ham, a few eggs, some cheese, and I literally just like scramble it all together in the pan. Boom. So I wake up really hungry in the morning, and I'm much more of a morning person than a night person, and I'm always ready to like get going with things right away, but I'm hungry. This has been such a boost to my energy versus maybe grabbing a piece of fruit or eating the leftovers off my kids' plates or, a quick bowl of cereal. It just doesn't do it for me. It does not make me feel my most vital, my most alive, my most ready to take on the day. And this scramble is like so delicious, and it feels like this messy, fast, sloppy thing. It feels lazy and fast, which I'm totally into, especially when I'm trying to get the kids out the door. So the only bummer is cleaning up the pan, which is truly one of my least favorite things to do. But the breakfast scramble, it's where it's at for me these days. It's seriously feeding my spirit and my body. So now I really want to turn it to you. I actually really want to invite you to consider what is lighting you up these days. What is giving you a connection to your spark, making you feel more alive, bringing more pleasure, less stress, and a sense of greater impact to your existence. And if you can't really answer that for yourself, you can steal some of mine, or you can sit in the question and really be with what would it take to reconnect with that inner spark, that fire, that sense of vitality and vibrancy, to really express more fully who you are in the world, bringing more of that sense of connection to our passion and really to your happiness to the forefront of how you live your day-to-day life. So that's what I have for you today. Those are the 4 things that have been making me feel much more alive. And that's the question I want you to take away, which is, what are the things that light you up these days? And if you can't find the answer, go looking for some. Thank you for being in this conversation with me. I never take it for granted. Again, come find me over on Instagram or over at sagebhobbs.com. And until next time, go live your naked life. We need more of the real you.